Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, I am a veteran with bad PTSD and I got a service dog. An HOA Karen tells me there are no dogs allowed inside the neighborhood and she doesn't believe that my dog is a service animal. She then shoots my dog and I black out. Here is what happened. So when I came back from overseas, I got diagnosed with some pretty bad PTSD. I did not even leave my house for months, it was so bad. I was not sleeping and just almost not like a real person. I don't know how else to explain it. Everything changed once I got my service dog named Layla. Or Lila, I'm not sure. She was the best thing to happen to me in the world and turned me from a shell of a person into one that was mostly functional. There was a lot that still triggered me, but with her I was able to manage through it. Especially in the gun-loving South, where hearing shots or even fireworks going off triggered the hell out of me. I was still bad to the point that I could not really work yet, but that was supposed to be my next step. Before I got to that point, I had a run-in with a Karen who ran the HOA of the neighborhood. I was taking Lila for her walk, one thing that always made sure I would get out of the house and breathe some clean air. This was only a few weeks after I got Lila, by the way. Karen, excuse me, I wanna know how long you're dog sitting for. I've seen that same dog for weeks and I was trying to be nice about it. Me, she's my dog actually. Karen, you do realize that you're a member of the HOA, right? Me, yeah. Karen, and if you read the rules you would clearly see that this is a dog-free neighborhood. You cannot keep that filthy mud. Me, first of all, don't go around calling her names, and second of all, she is a service animal so I can have her no matter what. Karen, oh please, you're not disabled, you walk around all the time and don't limp or anything. You just want to find a fake reason to have a dog because you think you're above the rules. It must be nice to not work and just live on government benefits instead of contributing to society. I wanted to find my voice and just scream at her, telling her that I contributed way more than her when I joined the army and went overseas to fight and protect her rude ass. I just could not, and the louder she got, the more I wanted to just retreat back into my home and hold Layla until the panic subsided. I wish Karen had just stopped that conversation and then dropped the subject if she went home and realized that a service dog was allowed and never spoke to me again. However, I couldn't have that kind of luck when dealing with a Karen. Part of having that title means being unreasonable and going to extremes, not being calm or rational like she should have been. I was walking Layla again and I guess Karen figured I couldn't have a dog if she was dead. Like I said, I lived in the gun-loving part of the South, so Karen having one was not some big thing. However, the fact that she shot and hit Layla was a different story. Between my PTSD acting up and her hurting my dog, I pretty much just blacked out. I woke up in the hospital on some really good drugs to keep me calm. It turned out that after Karen shot Layla, I tackled her to the ground and punched her as well as took the gun away. All of it was considered self-defense, and even if it wasn't, I'm pretty sure the state I was in would have gotten me off with it. I was in the hospital for another day after I started remembering everything and could stay calm without the drugs. Anybody that wants to claim mental illness is not a disability or disease should talk to the doctors that admitted me to the hospital for it. I was asking right away about Layla since I thought she was dead after being shot. Thankfully though, Karen was not great with a gun and that was the best news I heard in my life. Layla got clipped a little bit but was overall fine and would heal fully. She got released from the vet first and sat with me in the hospital until I was allowed to go home. Getting love and attention from not only me but every single nurse that walked in. She is just that kind of dog and since she wasn't working, she could get all the pets and treats she wanted. Going home was gonna be hell because I still had to deal with the whole Karen situation. She was arrested and charged but got out on bail until we actually went to court. With strict orders not to come near or speak to me, same thing I was told, which was fine by me. I did not want to go anywhere near her too. I did manage to see a glimpse of how bad I messed up her face. I think she was scared of me, which honestly I would be fine with if it kept her away. She was in a lot of trouble for what she did, and it was not just about misusing a gun. The ASPCA was on her ass for abusing an animal, but the biggest issue came from her breaking ADA rules. The Americans with Disabilities Act was this big thing that detailed everything and was the reason I could get Layla in the first place. Trying to take away my ADA rights to have Layla was a federal crime. Plus, since Layla is considered medical equipment, she also broke a law in trying to interfere. The same way you just cannot take away somebody's oxygen tank or prosthetic leg. She was trying to make some huge argument over the whole thing, with the basis being that Layla was not a service dog and I was just lying. Now, part of the ADA says I don't need to disclose my disability to anybody. They cannot legally ask me what I have a service dog for, they can just ask if she is a service dog. Still, in order to make her look stupid, I chose to disclose my PTSD and military history in my statement against her. Now, a veteran showing up in uniform against Karen was a major disadvantage towards her. Most people are not like her down here and have a ton of respect for those who served. Even after everything I said, Karen was still trying to argue that the HOA did not allow dogs and I was just trying to break the rules. Even claiming that PTSD was fake and I just wanted to whine and get government benefits. She looked bad in front of everybody and her lawyer even knew it. He looked ready to walk out and pretend that she was not his client. She was going to prison after breaking federal laws and having zero remorse for it. At that point, I was just tired, anxious and wanted to go home. In the back of my mind though, I was worried the remaining HOA would try to pick up where she left off. Instead, I got a letter from them stating that Karen's actions did not represent HOA or their ideals. That if I had anybody else giving me problems, to let them know. Not sure if sincere or them covering their asses, either way, all I cared about was Layla being fine and me getting to try and move on from just another crappy thing. Never giving up though, and I will go one step at a time with Layla right at my heels. And yeah, ripe stars, I'm so happy that this entitled stupid HOA Karen ended up in prison. That's exactly where she belongs. These people should not be free and out in public, honestly. Either way, the next one is a petty revenge story. I, 25 female, married my husband James, 29 male, 2 years ago, and I have a daughter, 11 female, Lily. Yes, I had a kid at 14. I don't regret having her, just the timing of it all. And I also have 2 twin girls, 8 months old. Lily's father was never present in her life, so when James came around, I was honestly surprised the father role he took and how much Lily loved him. I knew after a year that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him. So around the time we were planning for the wedding, my mother-in-law kept making remarks about Lily not being James' child, but we brushed it off until my mother-in-law flat out told us that she wouldn't be financing the wedding if Lily was not a guest. Mother-in-law also said because she wasn't his, she would never support Lily, and we had no problems with mother-in-law not paying for the wedding. We were just both taken aback that she would ever say anything like this. I obviously objected to that bewildering statement, and so did James. Mother-in-law tried to plead with James, and when he would not budge, mother-in-law stormed out of our house. Lily was our flower girl, and on the day of the wedding, mother-in-law tried to stop Lily 3 times, once by even blocking the path to the altar, but was easily stopped each time by other guests and the groomsmen. Besides that, our wedding went off without a hitch, and I wouldn't have preferred it any other way. The wedding was magical beside the beast. After having my twins, mother-in-law withdrew from Lily entirely. Lily, not understanding why, was obviously upset, and well, over the weekend Lily celebrated her 11th birthday, and per her request she wanted everyone to give a speech at her birthday. Everyone but mother-in-law was included. Mother-in-law hates not being front and center always, so when everyone was done giving their speeches, I turned around to see mother-in-law and she was pissed, and she later pulled me and James aside and asked why she was not included. I asked her what happened to never supporting Lily. After the party, James asked why mother-in-law was not included. I told him after the wedding fiasco and not giving Lily equal amount of time as she did, the twins, she wasn't to be included in that portion of the party. James agrees with me, but mother-in-law is still upset about the ordeal. And yeah, ripe stars, I gotta say, I kind of missed the Just Know mother-in-law stories a little bit, but then again, I think these stories are not worth the potential trouble. Either way, if you have watched until here and enjoyed the stories, please don't forget to like the video and also post a comment if you wanna help me beat the algorithm. Thank you so much. The next one is another petty revenge story. I've worked in an office for almost 2 years now. I have a teammate with the same job title, but with a slightly different role. Let's refer to her as Lola. We essentially work together as a team, working on our separate tasks to complete shared projects. I answered a phone call at my desk a couple of months ago that was for her and went to verify the information to transfer the call to her. This is something the receptionist normally did, so I wasn't sure what her specific extension was. And here is how the conversation went down. OP, you have a phone call, what is your extension? Lola, it's for me? That's weird. OP, why is that weird? It's usually for you, so I don't answer it. What are you talking about? I really am stumped. Lola, when someone calls either of us, both our phones ring. It's usually not for me, so I don't answer it. Well, it's normally not for me either. I just take a message or get the call to the right person, as I'm trying to do now. Lola really doesn't have anything to say about that. I get her the extension and then transfer the call to her. Back in my office, I'm kind of steaming. For almost 2 years, I've been taking every call and message when the receptionist is away. My teammate had been simply ignoring the phone that entire time, leaving all the effort to me. I looked at my phone and thought, I wish I just could unplug it. Then it occurred to me that the cord extended from a port on the floor connected under my phone. The phone essentially sits on top of the cord with a gap space under the phone to accommodate the cord. So I unplugged my phone and placed it on top of the cord so it simply looks as though it is plugged in. I have no idea who is answering the phone now when the receptionist is away from her desk, but I guarantee I won't plug in that phone again unless someone figures it out, and then I will simply play dumb. I mean, who would do something like that on purpose? It's a small anarchy, but I will take it. And now, ripe stars, we have an Am I the A-hole story with an update, so please watch until the end to see the conclusion. So, history: my husband 28 male and I 27 female have been married about 4 years now. We dated in college and got married afterwards. He finished college with a finance degree and thought he would go into accounting. Well, he quickly found out that this was not his passion, so he bounced around jobs and ideas, business, teacher, lawyer, but nothing really kept him saying this is what I want to do. This was also pre-pandemic. Since the pandemic, he has not attempted anything. He says after the pandemic there will be a boom in jobs and he can find something that he is passionate about. I have been working full-time and thankfully my job became remote and pays the bills while keeping food on the table. So, incident in question: after the fiscal year closed, my work had done really well. We were selling medical testing equipment, so it was a big product of 2020. I was given a promotion, I got a little pay raise and a small bonus. I was really excited because I could finally repair my purse and replace my shoes. My friend's puppy destroyed them, but I acknowledge I shouldn't have left my purse on a low stool in front of the puppy's bed, so it was my fault. Anyway, I was so excited to tell my husband about it, but he seemed more excited than me over this promotion. He started going off on how he could redo his game area now and get the new system since he was tired of his others, and I was dumbfounded. I got really quiet because I almost couldn't believe what he was saying. He eventually goes out and gets himself a new system, chair and mouse. He had basically spent my entire bonus. I was so upset and ultimately hurt and numb. We ended up getting into an argument and he called me selfish for not being happy that he got to achieve his dream, and I'm spoiled for being upset that I couldn't spend his money on me first. I basically called him an ungrateful a-hole and asked why does he deserve new stuff when I've been providing. He got really quiet on that one and stormed out, saying that he would be staying with his family only about an hour away. I've been getting angry calls and texts due to the fact that he didn't feel supported in his own home. And if I'm making the money, I can get whatever I want when I want, and I shouldn't throw it in his face that he does not have an income. Which, by the way, is not true. I'm trying to keep a roof over our head and food on the table. All his friends and family think that I way overreacted to something that makes my husband happy, and that the next time we get a large sum of money, my husband said he would let me repair my purse. I haven't responded and I don't think I will for a few days, but I've gotten so many that you're such a bitch and a-hole, I start to wonder if I really am. And here, ripe stars, let me know in the comments what you think about this one. Is OP being the a-hole here or not? Comment number 1 said, not the a-hole, it's not okay. He doesn't have a job and he feels entitled to your bonus? You do him a favor, at least tell me he does the chores, right? If I were you, I would dump him. Comment number 2, not the a-hole. You pay all the bills and do all the housework and he thinks it's okay to spend your bonus on himself. Sorry, but being an adult means helping out. Your bonus is yours and he's not entitled to it. He can stay with his family, who obviously babies him, less mess for you to clean up. And now we have an update to the story and it reads like this. Wow, thank you everyone. I was not expecting this kind of support. I appreciate all the kind messages and compassion. This is more than I've ever felt in my life, so thank you. Either way, I took the weekend to reflect on what I want and read through the comments and messages. I see your point and that I cannot keep treating this like a marriage if he doesn't. So here's to today and my first step towards freedom. I'm separating the finances immediately and contacting a local lawyer to see my options and rights, as well as therapy options for him. I will present this to him and he gets to choose. However, I refuse to baby an almost 30-year-old man. If he wants that, well, he has his mom. Thank you everyone. And now we got another update and it reads like this. So first I want to thank everyone who reached out and snapped me out of this daze with my soon-to-be ex-husband. He was extremely toxic and just made me feel not even worth anything, thus probably why it was so hard to see that he wasn't it. So I want to thank everyone who offered words of encouragement and even the tough love. I needed to hear it. After he went back to his parents, he was waiting for my apology, which I never did, and when he noticed that I drained our joint bank account, he escalated saying that I was his and how I could never actually leave him and that he owned me. All of my success was his and without him, I would be a loser dropout. His family was even worse because I'd already blocked them, so they started making fake accounts and using apps to hide their number to harass me. They were saying that I ruined their son's life and how he sacrificed everything to get me where I am. To throw him to the side like this was disgusting and that I deserve to rot. I provided all this to my lawyer who recommended I take a restraining order in case he wanted to escalate further and to not engage ever but just to keep records. This has caused my anxiety to go through the roof and I'm working on this with my therapist. So now I have separated the finances completely and changed my banks and even told them that my soon-to-be ex-husband is never allowed to access these bank accounts because he would take it all and run. Also, I've changed my number and gone completely social media-less. Besides this, of course. Part of me is broken that our marriage came to an end over a computer. I keep thinking that I'm stupid and how I couldn't see the warning signs. I must look like a fool to everyone. All in all, I'm slowly picking up the pieces of my life and figuring out how to move forward. Thank you to anyone still reading this and thank you everyone who helped me get here. And here, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, I'm so happy for OP that she got out of this abusive relationship/marriage, and I really wish her the best for the future. The next one is titled Elevator Revenge. There are a lot of dogs in my apartment building and we have an elevator. This one guy has this small terrier, probably 7 or 8 pounds. This guy always lets his dog run into the elevator even when there's people inside trying to get out. He just makes people step over his dog and seems to be one of those dog owners who thinks his dog is so sweet and friendly even though it's incredibly irritating. I recently adopted a shelter dog, 15 pounds heavy, Reggie, a month or 2 ago and he has some leash reactivity. I've been working on him with a professional trainer and it's getting better, but Reggie still needs a little distance. A dog running at him? Forget about it. The first time or two that irresponsible dog owner lets his terrier run at my dog, I tried really hard to restrain him and use my legs as a barrier between the two dogs to get Reggie out of the elevator quickly and safely. However, the third time I was very annoyed. I'm sure fellow leash-reactive dog owners know when you are pulling your dog to the side and trying to calm them down, there's always some a-hole dog owner who keeps letting their dog come closer and closer to say hi, even when it is obvious that you are trying to lead your dog away. I don't know what's wrong with them, but it's becoming a major pet peeve of mine. So anyway, back to irresponsible idiot dog owner IDO with the tiny terrier. Reggie and I were in the elevator again, the door opens and then there's the little terrier sprinting straight into the elevator again. This time though, I don't restrain Reggie and let him do his whole lunging and snapping routine. The terrier sprints away at full speed and the IDO looks like someone just spit in his tea. He follows his terrier away from the door and Reggie and I get plenty of room to leave the elevator while IDO is glaring at us. Reggie seemed to have taught them a lesson. I've only seen IDO and the terrier twice since then, but they were finally waiting away from the elevator door. And the next one is titled Idiotic Customer. I worked at a burger joint back then and I was working through college at the time. This restaurant was brand new and the building was only finished being built 6 months ago. From day one there were electrical problems with the walk-in freezer. This one is the size of most living rooms. Once we even had to throw out all the meat and close for a week for repairs and to replace the stock. Anyway, this is kind of bad for a burger joint to only serve salad, you know. Most of the time I was the barkeep, but sometimes the waiters needed help. This was a day I was helping them as the bar was slow. I see a customer in his 40s whom I will call Ken from here on out and his son who was maybe 10 years old. I take their orders and at first everything is normal. I go get their drinks and put the order in. I then come back and he asks me if he could go back in with his son because he wanted to show off the custom freezer that he installed with his company. He even bragged about needing a crane to lift it into the place. I told Ken no, it was not only a health code violation but also a huge safety issue. He got super angry. He argued that he knew that kitchen better than anyone there. He himself wired the freezer and his company installed it. The son was looking embarrassed. He even asked his dad to stop and he did not need to see it. Ken berated the kid, asking if he was proud of his dad and the restaurant equipment/electric company he owned. I told him I would go ask the manager just to make him happy. Obviously, I was not gonna ask, I just knew the answer already. So I went to the back for about 2 minutes and ran a load of dishes for the dish guy while I waited on Ken and Son's food. The food came out and I took it to them and told Ken the manager said no. Well, most people would be okay with that. However, this guy, he demanded to speak to the manager himself. So cue malicious compliance. Little did Ken know that I had overheard my manager, who was also the owner, saying that he was gonna sue the company that installed the freezer, but he was having trouble finding out who the owner was so he could have the lawyer address the letter to him. My boss had lost thousands of dollars because of the freezer being incorrectly installed. It passed building and the initial health inspections because the wiring issue was not visible and it held temperature on the inspection day. Oh, was my boss happy when I told him the owner of that freezer installation company was right outside eating a burger. He and I walked out and I introduced Ken as the owner of the company that installed the freezer. Manga put on a big customer service smile. The kind that secretly says screw you. He says he is so happy with the new restaurant but he needed the owner's card in case there was an issue with the brand new freezer. Ken happily gives the manager his personal card with his personal cell and email. Boss smiles with a real one this time and says, "Thank you. Now my lawyer will be in contact with you soon for the incorrectly installed freezer." Ken just has a mouth hanging open. Before he can say anything, the manager tells him he had 2 new electricians look at it because no one at his office would help him, so he knows it was the freezer and he knows it was his shoddy job that cost him thousands in monetary loss. He also adds that if he attempts to leave without paying, he will be arrested because now the manager has his name and phone number. Manager/owner did sue and won close to $50K in damages. And Ripe Stars, I gotta say, that was absolutely brilliant. So, moral of the story here, if you do a crappy job and decide to be a douchebag, better don't go back to the crime scene, and the crime scene in this case being the place where you shoddily installed your freezers. Anyway, the next one is an Am I the Jerk story. I am a Latina woman married to an American man. We live in a small community in Florida where most people are nice and kind to me, and for context, I love cleaning. I like trying new products just for fun. A couple of times I've offered to clean other people's houses free of charge just to help them. Among them, a widow who recently lost her husband of 50 years, a neighbor who had a baby and has a 3-year-old daughter, and another neighbor who had a car accident. I usually go to their houses and I clean for them once or twice a week. A few days ago I was sitting on my couch when I heard someone knocking on my door. It was a bit strange because we have a doorbell. I opened the door and this lady around 40 years old, whom I've seen just a couple of times, said, "It took you a while to open the door." I looked at her like I didn't understand what she just said and I only mumbled, "Huh?" She then asked me in the most entitled tone, "I wanna know, when are you gonna clean my house for free?" At this point I was trying not to laugh and I just asked her, why would I do that? She then proceeded to mention all the houses in the neighborhood I've cleaned and she wanted to know why I haven't been to her house yet. She then yelled at me, yes, yelled loud enough to make my next door neighbor come outside to see what's going on, and she was yelling at me because I was not replying to her. I was still trying to process how on earth this woman thought she had the right to come to my house and demand that I clean her house for free. I just said, I'm never gonna clean your house. I am not the neighborhood's maid, I've only helped a few people. And she then demanded that I help her, and at this point I had enough, so I just said F off and I closed the door. Later that day when my husband got home, she ran to him and told him I'm a rude person and how I yelled at her. When I explained him what happened, he told me I shouldn't have talked to her like that and next time I should be nicer. Am I the jerk here? Comment number 1, not the a-hole, maybe you should tell your husband to F off too, and while you're at it, stop cleaning houses for free. You are not the help here. If you keep doing that, that's all they will view you as. Comment number 2, not the a-hole, that neighbor is incredibly rude and your husband's response was insane. Next time when someone shows up to your home and demands you clean their home, be nicer? Hell no! Comment number 3, you're not the hired help and not the a-hole, and you're not there to service other people. Your husband should really step up for you. It doesn't matter why she came to you, she had no right to talk to you like that, and let's be real, probably she thought she could do that due to your race. It's happened to my Mexican friend living in a very wide area of the Northeast. It definitely happens. And yeah, ripe stars, let me know in the comments whether you think OP is the a-hole here. But I would say, if you're not completely stupid, then obviously OP is not the a-hole here. And the way the entitled neighbor was talking to OP was absolutely disgusting. I wish only the worst for this neighbor. But props to OP for staying calm. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.